This is the parallel and perpendicular lines video, part 2. It says write the equation in slope-intercept form of the line parallel and the line perpendicular to the given line and through the given point. So this is two problems in one. You're going to write the line that's parallel to this line, the equation of it, and the line that's perpendicular to this line. Okay. Alright, so for parallel lines have the same slope. So since this has a slope of 4, your parallel line will also have a slope of 4. Then you're going to use this is x and this is y. So in the equation y equals mx plus b, this new line passes through the point -2, -9. Y is -9, so that'll be plugged in for y. Slope is 4, because they're parallel, so they have the same slope. X is -2. And B, the y-intercept, is what we don't know, because they shouldn't have the same y-intercept, or we're just doing the same line. Okay, so multiply, we'll get -9 equals -8 plus b, and then move 8 to the other side by adding. So b is -1. Okay, so the parallel line would be y equals slope of 4, because they have the same slope, and a y-intercept of -1. That is parallel to the original y equals 4x plus 7, and it goes through -2, -9. Alright, now we're going to do perpendicular. Perpendicular lines do not have the same slope, so since this slope is 4, the slope of a perpendicular line should be flipped, so I'm going to flip that upside down, and it should be opposite. Since the original is positive 4, the new slope is going to be -1/4. And we're still using these points, -2, -9. We still want the line to go through the point -2, -9. This is like two problems in one. Okay. A lot of times they'll be asked separately. You'll have one problem that says find the line that's parallel to this, and then a separate problem that'll say find the line that's perpendicular to this. We're just doing it in the same example just to save paper. Alright, so you're still going to do y equals mx plus b. Y would be -9 still. We're still going through that point. M in this case would be the -1/4. X would be -2, and B is what we're missing. Okay, so multiply this. If you multiply across the top, across the bottom, you'll get +2, -1 times -2 is +2, and then 4 times 1 is 4. Of course, that reduces to 1/2. You don't necessarily have to reduce since we're still solving, but you can. Okay, subtract 1/2 from both sides. And then in your calculator, get your calculator out and just put in -9 minus 1 divided by 2. And you will get -9.5. And that's fine, we'll leave it that way. When you're talking about graphing the y-intercept, you go down -9.5, and that's fine to leave that as a decimal. Okay, so the equation here would be y equals slope, which because it's perpendicular is -1/4, and then x plus b, and b is -9.5. Okay, so the red line is parallel to the original line. The blue line is perpendicular to the original line. The red and the blue line both go through the same point, Okay? Alright, same thing. Write the equation in slope-intercept form of the line parallel, and then we'll find the one perpendicular. So you're doing two separate problems here. So we're going to do the parallel line first. Okay, before we can do that, we need to solve for y. Put this in slope-intercept form. Okay, so subtract 2x from both sides, and you'll be left with negative 5y equals negative 2x plus 10. Those are not like terms, so they do not get combined. And then divide by negative 5. Okay? Negative 2 over negative 5 doesn't reduce. The only thing that reduces there or simplifies is that it's a positive. And 10 divided by negative 5 is negative 2. So this is the line that we're using, which means that we're using the slope 2 over 5. Okay? So for parallel lines, we're going to do parallel. Parallel would have a slope of 2 over 5, and we want it to go through 3, negative 7. Alright, so y equals mx plus b. Y, this would be x and y would be negative 7. M, our slope, because it's parallel, would be the same, 2/5. X would be 3. And the y-intercept is what we're missing. We don't know what b is. Okay, so go ahead and multiply these. We'll get negative 7 equals, multiply across the top, 2 times 3 is 6. 5 times 1 is 5. Okay, and then we're going to subtract the 6 over 5 from both sides. Again, we're going to use our calculator and get a decimal. Okay, and that's fine when you go to graph a y-intercept as a decimal. That's easier than a fraction. So negative 7 minus 6 divided by 5 in the calculator, you will get negative 8.2. Okay, so that means the parallel line would be y equals 2/5. That would be your slope. X minus 8.2. So this in red is parallel to the original line. Alright, now we're going to do perpendicular. Perpendicular has opposite reciprocal. So the slope here is 2/5, so we need to make ours negative, and then we flip it upside down. That's what reciprocal means. Okay, so we're going to be using the slope negative 5 over 2 instead of positive 2 over 5 because we want perpendicular. And we're using the same point, 3, negative 7. That'll be our x and our y. So y equals mx plus b. Y would be negative 7. Slope m would be negative 5 over 2. X would be positive 3, and the y-intercept is what we're missing. Okay, so go ahead and multiply. Across the top would be negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. Across the bottom, 2 times 1 is 2. Alright, that doesn't reduce or divide, and again, you don't really need to reduce or divide anyway. Just go ahead and move it to the other side. Add 15 halves. Over here, again, use your calculator. Get out your calculator and say negative 7 plus 15, divide by 2, enter, and you will get 0.5. So B would be 0.5. Okay? So this means your equation would be y equals negative 5 over 2, because it's perpendicular, plus x plus 0.5. Negative 5 over 2 is the slope, 0.5 is the y-intercept. Okay, the blue equation is perpendicular to the black equation. the red equation is parallel to the black equation. Alright, last one. Again, we need to solve for y first. Okay? So subtract 3x from both sides, and you'll get 4y equals negative 3x plus 16. Okay? Divide by 4. Make sure you divide everything by 4. And you'll get y equals negative 3 over 4, which does not reduce or divide, x, plus 16 divided by 4 is 4. So this is the equation we're going to be using. Okay? Alright, so let's find the line parallel to this. Okay? Parallel uses the exact same slope. So for parallel, we'll be using the slope negative 3/4, and we'll still be using the point 12, negative 5. Alright, so y equals mx plus b. Y would be negative 5 equals m, the slope would be negative 3/4. X would be 12, and b, the y-intercept, is what's missing. So go ahead and multiply here. We'll get negative 5 equals, multiply across the top, negative 3 times 12 is negative 36. And then across the bottom, 4 times 1 is 4. Now I am going to go ahead and reduce this because negative 36 divided by 4 divides evenly, and I think we're better at whole